Chirp YouTube channel. From what you saw already, the title of this video, we're going to talk a little bit about skin color today and about some of the challenges that come with living in a diverse society where many people do not like each other because of the color of people's skin and the culture that they come from. I am not a person of color. I am not coming at this video from that perspective. I'm coming to this video to share some of the things that I have done and some of the ways that I have helped kids that I know sort through stuff related to this issue. I hope to do that in a very respectful way and in a way that enables parents, teachers, special educators, Sunday school classroom teachers, any sort of person who's dealing with kids, especially those who have developmental delays or disorders, because the language needs to be a little bit simpler. And it's hard to figure that out sometimes. It's hard to figure out if we should talk about it at all. Yes, we should. And how we should talk about it and what kind of things that we can do to help our kids not be racist and have relationships with people who are different from them in other ways as well. My first tip is to not avoid the topic. It's very challenging to talk about sometimes because we ourselves don't know what we think, we don't feel well educated, but I have put a bunch of resources in the box down below so that you can begin to educate yourself on this topic, so that you can start the process of becoming more understanding of people who are different from you, and especially of the Black community, which has, in my country, been oppressed for 400 years. It really helps to have an understanding of some of that history and some of that original sin that comes from in my own country. I can only really speak of my own country. I know racism exists elsewhere, but this is where I am, this is where I live. Please do educate yourselves, and when you do that, you will feel more prepared to answer your children's questions and to prepare them for the world also in a compassionate and loving and respectful way. My second tip is, as always, especially when we're dealing with kids who have special needs, we need to use simple words. We don't want to use crazy words, but something like, everybody has a little bit different skin color. Some people's is lighter, some people is darker. In our country, some people with lighter skin do not like people with darker skin just because their skin is darker. We in our family think that's wrong, and we are going to do everything that we can to help the people with the darker skin. As kids get older, of course, start using terms like white and black, even though they're an oversimplification. Start using those terms so that the kids are using the same language that the culture around them is using. Tip number 3 is to be purposefully anti-racist. We can't just be bystanders. We can't just be in the middle, not taking a side. We need to take a side. A lot of my followers on this channel are followers of Jesus, not just me, Jesus, the more important one. And as followers of Jesus, we should be acting and thinking like Jesus. And that means that we are meant to be compassionate and understanding. We're meant to stand up for those who are oppressed. In our culture, our friends in the Black community are oppressed. They are being targeted, and they have been targeted, as I said before, for 400 years and long before that. We cannot allow that to continue. We are called to be on their side, to be activists working on their behalf, to make this a just society. Some ways that we can start early with our kids are by making sure that the books and the media that we expose them to are diverse. That's a good start. It's a good start to purposefully attend a church, live in a neighborhood where there are people of color that your children can get used to, can learn, can love, can experience life with. Because when we know people who are different from us, it's not threatening, it's not as scary. I recommend studying other cultures. Have a food night once a week where you experience food from a different culture. Do a study of where the people in that culture live, what is their environment like, what kind of foods do they normally eat, print out some recipes, and then have your kids help you pick different recipes. Show pictures of the people from that country. Maybe even sponsor children through Compassion International, that's my favorite, or some similar organization where the people look different from your family, so that that also is a bridge between cultures and between skin colors. Also, you can celebrate holidays of those cultures, which I think would be really fun. Tip number 4 is kind of general and broad, but teach compassion, teach love, teach kids that that is your number one priority. Your family, as followers of Jesus, as members of your family, as people who are good people, if you don't believe in God or if you don't have a specific family motto, it's a good idea to make one. But if you don't, you can just say, we want to be good people. We want to be on the side of the good guys, and the good guys stick up for other people. We need to go out of our way to look for ways to be compassionate, because our normal lives are very busy. We don't usually have a lot of margin on the edges of what we absolutely need to get done. And so it's very easy to overlook the people we pass by on a daily basis or a weekly basis who need help and not see the help that is needed. Looking around in our community and thinking of ways we can do that, purposefully look for people of color who need your support in order to help teach your kids that we help people of all colors, and people who have darker skin, Black people, are subject to more difficulties in our culture. The people who are hit the hardest need the most help. For example, in the Bible, in the story of the lost sheep, there are 100 sheep, one goes missing, and that's the one that the shepherd spends all of his energy trying to find and trying to rescue. The other 99 are equally important, but the one that is the hardest hit by getting lost, because that's the one who is lost, is the one that the shepherd spends the energy on. We need to spend the energy on the people in our communities who are the hardest hit. This is the category where I just need to say simple things that seem like common sense, but I think are hard in a family environment. We need to consistently say things like, every person is important, no matter of skin color, no matter of ability, no matter of age. All of those things are unimportant. Every person is precious to God, and every person is important. We need to treat every person with dignity and respect and love and compassion. Every person deserves that, even if they have been mean to us, even if they don't treat us very nicely. It's our call to treat them nicely in return. That's our mission. You might choose to use words like brother and sister when talking about other people. You have to teach your kids, of course, this is not literal. That person across the street is not my brother. But I have found in my own life that I respond very differently to some. Let me tell you a little story. This video is a little chatty. Sorry about that, but I hope every bit of it is helpful to generate thoughts in your mind. I was driving down the road. My brother was in his truck and he was going to meet me wherever we were going. So we were going to the same place, but we took different routes. Someone pulled out in front of me and in the same kind of truck that my brother had been driving, and my first thought was, what a jerk, why did he pull out in front of me? And my second thought very quickly afterwards was, oh, it's my brother. And I immediately gave him the benefit of the doubt. Immediately my mind was thinking loving thoughts instead of thinking, what a jerk that guy is, why did he cut me off? That is what we need to be teaching ourselves and what we need to be teaching other people. And this is why I'm talking about the brother-sister terminology. If that guy on the street is my brother, if I think of him as being my brother, I'm going to assume the best. I'm going to not care if he was trying to cash a faulty $20 bill. That's not going to matter, because in the long term, in this full scope of things, that is the least important fact about what happened in this situation. What I care about is his life and his value as a human being. Those things are very important, and we need to be teaching our kids that from a young age. We also want to be teaching in this category, this is a broad one, that we don't have to agree with someone's action in order to understand why those actions might have happened. It's not hard to think of examples. There are a lot of things that are not okay in our society. And yet, when we look at someone's, for example, it's not okay for someone to pull out in front of me and cut me off. That's dangerous. If it's my brother, when I can see the reasons behind the action, I'm much more compassionate. And that is another thing that we're called to do. We're called to try to understand, not just to judge and criticize. That is important to be teaching our kids. And in this realm, I guess, number 4, teaching compassion, I think one of the most important ways to teach this is by modeling this. So when I'm having an uncompassionate thought, oh, that guy's a jerk, why did he cut me off? I can say out loud in the car with my children, I'm going to assume that that's Uncle Mark in the car. I'm sure he didn't mean to do that. It was an accident. Everybody makes accidents, so I'm not going to be angry with him. This is super hard to do. I don't even have kids, so I can't do this on a daily basis. And I still have trouble managing my own thoughts and directing them in a loving way. But that's what we're going to try to do here. Let's all try to do it together. Maybe it will help. Tip number 5, allow kids to ask questions, even on sensitive topics like race. Prepare yourself in advance, as I mentioned in number 1. Read the resources in the box and expand your horizons. Read even more if you can. And know that your kids will ask you things you didn't expect them to ask you. And you have to be okay saying, I don't know about that. I'm not sure what I think about that yet. Let me read some more, and then we can talk about it again. Let me find out, and we can have another discussion. Number 6, prepare in advance a plan for what you will say when you encounter people in your child's life who do not think the way that you do about race. Basically, plan for what you're going to do when you encounter racism, when your child encounters racism. Especially if it's from people that the children love. That's really hard for kids to think Uncle Joe is wrong because he said bad things about my friend who is black. That's going to happen, probably, sadly, in this world. And you could say something like, of course, create your own phrase and use your own language, but maybe something like, Uncle Joe thinks differently from how we think. Everyone comes to their own conclusion about this and about everything else. And I'm sorry that Uncle Joe thinks like that, because I don't think it's very compassionate, and I don't think it's very loving. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to do the trick and let your kid know that even people who love each other don't agree on stuff sometimes, even really important stuff. And it's hard, and we're gonna stick up for people who are oppressed. We're gonna stick up for people who are being harmed, because that's what we do in our family, and that's what we do as people who love Jesus. Number 7, kind of on that point, if you hear anything in your home that is racist, call it out and stop it. I heard a joke one time as a child, and I was woefully unprepared for racism and for race discussions. I didn't realize that people treated each other differently because of skin color, and I wish that I had known I'm learning now how different those experiences are from the ones that I had as a child and as an adult and as a teenager. All of my life is different because we're different colors. But I told a joke that was racist, and I didn't realize that it was a joke, and I didn't understand jokes very well when I was a kid anyway, but I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. So if you hear jokes like that, explain that joke. Here's why it's not okay. Explain those things to your kids and stop that stuff in its tracks, because if it happens in your home, it will happen outside of your home. It's not okay. Number 8, teach your kids how to be an advocate for other kids. In my classroom, we often say to kids who have a little more language or who have a little more cognitive ability because they're a little older, we say something like, "Do you hear that? I heard someone say a mean thing to someone else. Let's go fix it. Let's go step in." We want to encourage our kids who can to stick up for people who need an advocate. We also, of course, are teaching our own kids how to advocate for themselves. If you are teaching your kids how to tell other people, "Go away, this is my toy, don't say mean things about me," not only do we want the kid to be able to say those things, we want kids to be able to get adults involved where adults need to be involved. So you might teach your kids, if you hear someone say a bad thing because of someone's color or anything else, here are some things that we can say. Let's go find a teacher. Let's go find a grown-up. "I'm so sorry that happened to you. How can I help? You are not alone. I am your friend, and I will stick by you. I'm on your side." Number 9 is when your kids are well enough informed, many of them will probably want to turn into little activists. When they know how hard things truly are for some other kids, this really touches my heart, they will want to help. So have some options. Listen to your kids. When they hear about bad things happening to other kids, when they hear about how terrible racism is and how our whole structure of our society is built on some people being better than others because of their skin color, some people being worth more because they are white, they will want to try to fix this somehow. And so when they do, listen to their creative ideas and help them do it. Help them help other people. My last tip is kind of what I'm trying to do myself also, and that is tip number 10. Listen to the people of color in your life and learn from them. Try to figure out with their sage counsel how you can help, how you can advocate for them. All these things that you're doing with your kids are bound to help. I want to say here at the end of this video that, once again, I'm not a person of color. I don't have a long history of abuse and oppression behind me in my life. And I have done my best to bring you some tips that I think will be helpful to you, assuming that you also are maybe not a person of color and you'd like to know how better to be an advocate for them and how to teach your kids to be on the side of the oppressed. I'm sure that I got some stuff wrong, and so I apologize for that. If you are listening and there was anything that I said that hurt you further, I'm sorry. I come to this video with the best of intentions, trying to help other people to be better, to grow, to be more supportive of our brothers and sisters of every color. So that is the end of this video. Kind of a serious topic today, but I can't not chime in on this topic because it is so important, and because those of us who have kids with special needs need to approach this a little bit differently, and we need to be a little more proactive in preparing ourselves, thinking ahead of the phrases that we will use, because our kids learn in a different way. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'll see you in my next one. Be well, go and be as compassionate as you possibly can. Bye.